Hi, Mary.
Hi, Sky.
How are you?
Doing great. Good to see you.
Good to see you too on this really sunny Sunday
Yeah,
afternoon.
it is very sunny today.
All right. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see you here. I'm Sky, one half of largerluxury.com, and we're just thrilled to have Mary Lindoff with us today. Mary is originally from Virginia in the United States, and she is now living in Edmonton, where Sherilyn and I are with Larger Luxury. Mary has a Bachelor of Arts in Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies. But while she was a student, she was working in a day spa that offered massage therapy and aesthetic services. She really fell in love with the idea of honing in on what makes us feel our best selves. So, fast forward to 2024. Mary is now a massage therapist herself, and she's finishing up an advanced clinical aesthetics diploma here in Edmonton. Whether that be a massage or getting a facial or a variety of treatments, Mary's driving force is helping others understand their relationship with the beauty industry, and like us at Larger Luxury, creating a space for everybody to feel comfortable, welcome, and worthy. So, Mary, I'm just thrilled to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. So, I guess we'll just dive right in. This is just a conversation, really, but we have a couple of questions to just sort of kick things off. So, my first question, really, that I've been thinking about is what are your thoughts on how the beauty industry can improve in terms of inclusivity and how it can accommodate clients who live in all different sizes, shapes, and types of bodies?
Absolutely. And I found this to be such a great question. I feel like the list is long. So I've kind of condensed some of my thoughts here. And one thing I have noticed, I will give the industry this, is I have seen more diversity in marketing
Mm,
over the past few years. However, there's always that thought in the back of my mind: is the marketing really truly representative of the people that are on these images? Or are they just having the diverse marketing? Um, so that's one thing that always like sparks my mind, like what's behind the images. But truly, and I had the honor of taking the Larger Luxury Spa Inclusive course recently, which I found to be super fascinating and super helpful. I do encourage spa owners, wellness center owners to take that course. You touch on topics like fat phobia, the fat liberation movement, terminology that's not typically known to the vast majority of a public, I would say. And even as a plus size person myself, I found that to be super eye opening. So
mm.
that's something I would encourage everyone, if they're able to do, to reach out to you to access that course. And then another thing is market research,
Okay.
talking to plus size individuals, people in different bodies, and seeing what their barriers have been historically going to a spa, or if they have never been able to, what is it that people could be doing differently, owners could be doing differently for people to access spa treatments, and envisioning basically what it's like from a perspective of someone in a larger body to go to your place of business, from parking, from being greeted, from being seated in the waiting area, walking through the hallways, having your consultation with your practitioner, getting on and off the treatment table or pedicure chair, how your practitioner talks to you, how you feel afterwards, what it's like to use a washroom. I mean, the entire experience culminates into how the customer feels. So I feel like just having that vision and the steps of what you can implement that's reasonable for you as a business owner to change makes a huge difference. I don't think anyone expects like a night and day difference, right? It's the reasonable changes. Can I buy extended robes? Can I afford furniture that is made for a higher weight capacity? So those are the things that I think
Mm.
tremendous.
So, oh, that's such a lot. That's such a great list. I'm just like all of these ideas are sparkling in my mind. I don't know. I don't know what to pick up on first. But the so we talk a lot about inclusive marketing and how to include, diverse bodies in marketing. And I love your critical perspective of, well, is it authentic or not? So
Mhm.
that's what I'm hearing from you. This skeptic is in the back of Mary's mind saying, well, because it's true, like in the fashion industry,
Right.
many times the models are not like what a plus size woman would necessarily experience. So, and then when you do a bit of investigative journalism, you get to see that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, some of those models are wearing padding. Not
Mhm.
actually, there wouldn't actually be considered plus size. So the authenticity, I think, is crucial. Everything we do, we want it to be about real people in real bodies, whatever they look like or however they come. So I
I
appreciated that. And then the other thing that you said that got me thinking, and that I hope people also picked up on, was actually, so the client experience happens long before they get even in the door.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And even when they're researching spas on the internet, having I think there's I was reading an article actually recently about being a plus size individual going to a spa and how to make it better for yourself. And there's a lot of back end work that the individual has to do. So I think even providing on your website or social media what is already available kind of already puts a customer at ease. They're not having to make that extra phone call to ask
Mm,
what the late weight limits of a table are. So things like that, I think, even make an exceptional difference before going
yeah.
to that service.
Yeah. And even that, like, so posting weight limits on the website is really good. Specifications for anything, anywhere, not
Absolutely.
just, yeah, that's really good for accessibility for every human. But if I it's so interesting because if I went to research a day spa before I went to visit, and when, to go back to that authenticity, even if the weight specs or the other sizes or other specs or mobility issues were addressed on the website, if I didn't see myself reflected
Right.
somewhere on
Yeah.
that site, I would still probably feel nervous about going, right? Like,
Mhm.
so
Totally.
I mean, to kind of a segue into the next question, Mary, is when I met you, when I had the great fortune to meet you and learn about what you were doing. And I was so bold and I just said, Mary, like, I'm going to come. Can I have a facial? So,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons why is because I was like, oh, so we live in completely not the same experience, but we have some shared experience of body size. And oh my God, I could just like be myself when I go there. Honestly, that's one of the first things that came to me because I'm not sure, to be honest, I'm not sure I've ever really seen you know, a woman who looks somewhat like me as an esthetician. I don't know if
Yeah.
I've ever seen that. So, tell me a little bit about like how you think you understand perspective of women and men and any person, any gender, living in a larger body. What can you bring to their experiences? Like,
For sure. I mean, I think it's just that relatability factor.
mm,
I have been on the other side of spa settings or even healthcare setting of not feeling comfortable in a robe, of feeling like I'm exposing myself somehow, which adds this extra layer of discomfort and not having that ability to relax when you're supposed to be relaxing and in a relaxing environment.
yeah.
Even just recently at school, I was giving someone a facial and my stool just made this noise. And I felt so embarrassed and I had to get up because you could tell that there wasn't much time before me and the stool were no longer.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So I get up, I ask my instructor, I'm like, what do I do? She's like, just go grab another stool. And my heart sinks because I'm like, okay, well, I hope the next one isn't going to do the same thing. I have to interrupt the service to do this. So I understand the feeling of uncomfortability and just embarrassment, frankly, of not every single person's experience, but just my lived experience in a larger body. I've also when I was growing up, I was in a smaller body. And so now I can see the perspective of what my smaller body was able to, or how it was treated basically in a spa setting versus my body and its size now. So I've lived that experience throughout a lifetime, seeing those differences. And on top of that, I have a chronic invisible illness as well. So that adds another lens that I didn't necessarily even pick up on for myself until later in life, and to see the complexities and the nuances of the changes that actually do need to be made in the spa and wellness industry.
Again, Mary, you brought up so many great points, and I'm so sorry that that happened to you. And that's an aha moment for me as well, because we talk about the clients, but is the spa space as a workplace, is it safe, and is it inclusive for all of the staff?
Right.
That's
Exactly.
something actually that even, I haven't thought of or been talking about, beyond the issue of representation, which is so key. Clients see themselves reflected in the staff, but is it a safe working place for all staff, right? Can your staff be people in different bodies with different abilities, with, different, could any staff member with any disability, a visible one or a physical disability, be employed there?
Right.
Right. Yeah. Great question. And then the invisible illness, I also am managing a couple of those myself these years of my midlife. And that really does, you see things in many different ways, and you're seeking out healing, right? I mean, I'd love to know why you go to a spa. I love in your intro, you told me that you really want to help people feel their best selves. And that's why we go to a spa. It's also why we go to a doctor or any kind of health adjacent practitioner. And yeah, we just want to be safe and be valued when we're there. And I've also been in a scale, like a sliding, like a spectrum of body sizes throughout my life, right? Actually, my best friend from childhood, she lived on one side of the country and I lived on the other, because my parents were divorced. And every summer I would go, to my dad's and see her there. And then when we were adults, I don't really know what prompted the conversation, but I think it was about body size and confidence and different things. And she said to me, yeah, every summer we didn't know which sky would be there. Like we never knew what to expect. It was always a surprise. And it, like, she didn't mean it to be hurtful. It was very hurtful. She didn't mean it. But that's, our intention and our impact are, very different things. And that's true. So I've had a range of different experiences, but that type of statement that we think is, or we don't even think about it, that happens even if you are in like a so-called smaller body or a straight body. There was a time in my life when I was much smaller than now, hadn't had children yet, was, in my 20s, running 5K every day, starving myself, of course, as well. And I had lost a significant amount of weight. And when I was on the massage therapy table, right, in a very vulnerable situation, the massage therapist, I believe, with great intention, thinking to be helpful, said to me, oh, your body doesn't have any muscle. You have like so much empty skin here. Why don't you lift some weights? And so we talked a lot about infrastructure already, about roads and table weights and specifications and parking spots. But when we think about retaining our clients in our spa business, I actually think what is the bigger what's the bigger challenge? Not having the robe, because worst case scenario, I can just stay in my clothes until I get to
Right.
the treatment room, right? That
Yep.
that's embarrassing, but I can do that. Or having to be paying for a service that's supposed to make you feel healed and rejuvenated and worthy of
Yep.
loving yourself, and then you pay money for that, good money for that, and then you're lying there, and instead of feeling all those warm feelings, oh, you're warm, all right, but it's like that hot sting of humiliation.
Oh, right.
You know, that hot sting where the tears are going to come, and you just feel sick in your stomach
Yep.
because you hate them for saying it, but you hate yourself more because you know what they're saying is true, but they don't know your backstory.
Yep.
So what would you like? What can we do so that practitioners and business owners who mean well make sure that they don't fat shame or humiliate their clients? Because that's probably, what do you think? Like, I'm going to ask you,
Well, yeah, that's
have a bigger impact on revenues and retention than like the table weight, do you think?
yeah, I do. I actually was going to touch upon this, I think, with another question, but I think in the service industry, you meet a lot of people. They have similar backgrounds and that they have different life stories, but all want to ultimately help people,
Mhm.
right? But there's not very much community. There's not very many associations where people can go and talk and further support each other. And I think community for service providers is essential. We could have more courses about ethics. We could have more courses about diversity and how to talk to your clients in a body neutral way and not shaming them. I mean, of course, people are going to say things every now and again. We can't
Yeah,
control or dictate what people are going to say, but to
yeah.
inform them, to give them the knowledge, like how much knowledge I gained from the course that I took from you, I think that knowledge is power. And you can't really break through those other barriers without seeing that first and wanting to have that driving desire to make those changes. So I think it is about community and continuous conversation.
Mhm.
100%.
Wow, I love, the community is so powerful, right?
It
And
really is.
what's powerful about that is you create a space where people can ask questions that they're maybe scared to ask
Right.
elsewhere, or maybe being scared to ask a client. So community creates that space. Although, having said that, I would love somebody to just ask me. I'd rather somebody ask me, and if the question doesn't come out right, like, we all stumble over our words in life at different times, and generally speaking, you can tell if someone has, if the question is coming from a place of good intention or curiosity.
Right.
Like that situation I just described, like, you thinking back on that, I'm wondering if she had maybe asked a question like, oh, have you experienced some changes in your body, or I don't know, if she asked a question that came from curiosity and opened up a conversation, it could have been
Mhm.
a very different experience than assuming something about my body and then like recommending a course of treatment.
100%. I agree. And I think I would hope that most people would have that intention. But as you said, people do stumble across their words. But I think you can spot when when someone is being genuine and coming from a place of curiosity rather than the assumption side of it, as you mentioned. So I'm truly sorry that you had that experience. I know that that hotness that you were talking about earlier, it just fills your cheeks and the
Yeah,
rest of your body. It's
I
not a
know.
great experience. So
And with
I'm
my
sorry.
rosacea, my cheeks are red enough.
Right?
Which is another reason why I've come for your
Right.
like your aesthetics treatments in particular.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with my rosacea, but yeah, and that's really like the beauty of this industry and why Sherilyn and I are so passionate about it, because 99.9% of people in the industry went in it to help and to heal. because
Mhm.
they have healing hands, rejuvenating hands. So whether you're a massage therapist or an esthetician or an acupuncturist or any range of sort of allied health that
Yeah.
helps people feel rejuvenated and relaxed and nourished. I think everybody truly from the bottom of their hearts, they only want to do good.
Yes.
But I think the thing about the field of diversity and inclusion, where Sherilyn and I come from, is that sometimes good as an intention isn't enough. You have to have some frameworks and structures and processes behind that so that the intention becomes like action.
Yes, yes, and I think having courses specifically in those, school settings would be vital and could very much help, future practitioners gain some of that understanding and knowledge,
Mhm.
and empathy at the same time. Because, yes, you're 100% right. We can have the good intention, but without that framework, what does that really look like day to day, in your business?
Mhm. So is there an opportunity in education programs to sort of enhance their varying curricula? Did you receive training in any of your, because you're a massage therapist as well, and now you're in aesthetics. Did you
I
receive kind of
Yes.
training?
So in massage school in Virginia, I did take a class that was specifically just ethics based. So it was understanding the power dynamics between the client and the massage therapist,
Mhm.
the vulnerable setting that they're in, and the various types of boundaries that there are. I unfortunately have not seen anything like that in an aesthetics program, but that does not mean that they're not willing to have that,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
there's just not the opportunity for growth. I think that is very important, for estheticians, to have as well. Um, I remember talking with my dean and she telling me that if there's any feedback that I have, um, as a plus size individual, to please provide that to her. So that was encouraging to hear, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
So it's really just advocating for oneself and seeing where you can make that change. I think that would be such a huge um, growing opportunity for aesthetics, massage therapists, acupuncturists, the
Mhm.
like in that setting.
Yeah, that's so awesome to hear. And we find also people generally are really very receptive, again, because everybody wants to do good. Um,
Exactly.
so that's great. So how, like, based on that receptivity and sort of, willingness to do what needs to be done to make that positive impact, how do you see the beauty industry evolving? Because again, let's be candid for a moment. The beauty industry has been a little slow on this curve, maybe a little slower than fashion, definitely a little slower than other things. Definitely some strides have been made, right? There's
Yes.
now makeup available for many different skin colors. Rihanna, for example,
Right.
spearheaded that, right?
Mhm.
So definitely see some strides, but size though is still not, I mean, I don't see it so much. So you tell me, how do you see the beauty industry changing and what role do you want to play in that?
That's a great question. And I thought about this one for a while. And I keep coming back to this idea of conversation and community because real change, lasting change cannot occur without either of
Mm,
those.
yeah.
So I think having conferences, having community workshops, to talk about this would be, to me, an ideal um, turn, like that pivot to start learning more about being more inclusive for when it comes to size.
Mhm.
Um, I think hearing people's experiences is like the best learning that we could ever have. There's so many people that have so many stories to share. Whether they want to share that anonymously or not, having a setting where they feel comfortable to do that, I think, is also very important. Um, and for me personally, I just want to continue to be a part of that conversation because it will change over time. And I'm only one person with my only one lived experience, and I have blind spots too. So I want to continue to learn from others.
Mhm.
I mean, unfortunately, the beauty industry is made off of people wanting to change themselves, wanting to appear differently. And I think the other conversation is really talking about the natural beauty that every person possesses, and really making individuals feel comfortable with that, and not necessarily using terms to shame them. Talking more in the body neutral terms, I think, is also paramount, because the
Mhm.
more we can talk like that and the more natural that feels for even practitioners and clients, I think there will start to be more of that breakthrough in the
Mhm.
industry.
Mhm. That brings up a lot of interesting things because it's a delicate conversation.
Very much.
One of the things people ask me a lot is, or they stumble, or like, isn't fat a bad word? So how come
Mhm.
you're like calling yourself fat? And believe me, that is years of hard work and therapy and like, um,
Yes.
you know, you said you said that you are dedicated to helping people feel their best self. And so if that best self involves change, I mean, who are we to say anything
True.
about that, right?
Very
So
much.
yeah, I don't want whatever people want to do, but are they doing it because they have been shamed so badly or excluded
Right.
so badly from society? Because every human, like the key human driver, really is belonging, right?
Yes.
That's what humans need. And so, yeah, can we be our best self? And, fat's not a dirty word, it's just a scientific reality. And Sherilyn and I, it's hard using that,
Yeah.
but we've kind of claimed that. And
Right.
it's a body, like every human. This is the thing about diversity and inclusion. I mean, we don't have an earthly experience as humans if we don't have a body.
Mhm.
A fact, right? It's a dimension of diversity all humans share, similar to age. Like we all experience youth and then aging.
Mhm.
So we all have a body and every body looks different. And so how can we have that conversation just talking about bodies and all the
Right.
things that bodies do? Because every body is worthy.
Mhm.
Which, that's our tagline.
Yes. Yes.
If, funnily enough, I could work that in there. But yeah, everybody is worthy. And so the more we just have those neutral conversations, I think that's so important.
Yes, definitely. And that's, to me, such a great catalyst. Not that that doesn't come with floods of emotion and our natural feelings towards those experiences, but I think it would be such a strong breakthrough to continue to have those conversations.
Mhm. So to diversify the beauty industry itself, like how do we get more? As well, actually, I have noticed a shift, I
Mhm.
be upfront about that. Like, as society is shifting in terms of our size, actually, in the you're American, so in the United States, this is interesting. Did you know that 66% of Americans live in what's considered a larger body, a plus size body?
I don't think I realized it was that number. No.
So I think we do business every day like that's the minority, but
Right.
actually, demographically, it's actually the majority of human bodies.
Mhm.
Yet the services or the supplies, the infrastructure is not designed to meet the majority.
Right. That's That's true. I don't know why the conversation is turned as if it is a minority versus a majority. I mean, I could have some guesses, but I'm not exactly sure why the service
Yeah.
industry
Yeah.
doesn't include that. And I think it is talking about like the facts. of that, to really understand, okay, this is a perspective that we're looking at. These are actual people that we're dealing with that are in a, a larger body or normal body. Why aren't they being represented in this industry? That's something that I want to kind of delve deeper in myself and kind of explore as to how that can continuously change. Like I mentioned before, I have seen more diversity in models, even with a larger body, because you see a larger body that looks like an hourglass, and that's not representative of every person.
Mm.
And so seeing more and more bodies that look like authentically a human, not being photoshopped, showing the blemishes, showing the cellulite, the stretch marks. These are all just normal things that even smaller individuals experience.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's just that fear of the unknown. What does that industry look like without trying to erase some of these natural
Mhm.
human parts of ourselves?
Yeah, well, I don't know what you see as a practitioner looking down, but I imagine every person in for a facial or some other treatment, when we're on that table, I'm sure we all have multiple chins, not just
Yes.
me. I'm sure
Yes. Yes.
we all do, right?
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to aspiring estheticians who maybe feel like they don't belong in the industry? What would you say to them to inspire them?
I would say that you do belong. Not only do you belong, that we need you in this industry. If you have a passion for this industry and want to see that difference, you're more than needed. Um, I would say, obviously, do your research with the schools in your area, take a tour, ask them questions. Who is a point of contact? If I have questions, I want to make some change. I want to advocate for myself or larger individuals when it comes to even buying a lab coat for myself that will fit me.
Mm,
If it doesn't fit me from the beauty supplier, where can I go to buy one? I think not being afraid of asking questions is the biggest advice that I can give. But um, I just want to welcome anyone who is very passionate about the beauty or wellness industry to feel comforted that you're not alone. There are many people that want to be in the industry, and you are needed. We need more people that care deeply and have those healing hands. So that's my
that's
advice.
that's beautiful. Mary, it was such a pleasure having you here today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate all your perspectives, and we just can't wait to continue the conversation with you and build that community. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Sky. This has been great.
you're welcome. We'll talk soon. Take
All
care.
right. Have a
Bye.
wonderful day. Bye.